Love to welcome in our guy, Awad, to talk Commanders football. All right, how are we doing? It's 2 days after the loss. Little salty yesterday. That's okay. That's understandable. How are we feeling this morning?
Look, I tried to push this positive vibes only train down the line this season, and it stopped week 1. And really, it comes down to me losing confidence in Jayden Daniels' ability to stay healthy. I believe this guy is great. I mean, everything I watched, the game, the film, my goodness, you can't teach speed. He's got the speed to really scare defenses. We talked about this throughout the offseason, how that was going to change games. It changed the game against the Bucs. But his helmet popped off. Not once, not twice. It felt like almost every play that he ran, his helmet was popping off. And so I've lost confidence in Jayden's ability to stay healthy. I think he could be great, but his availability is the most important thing, Michael.
I'll go straight there. The RG3 parallels are eerie. Everybody sees it. It's a guy who can run, who can't make his own decisions to keep himself healthy, right? And what was it we yelled at the end of RG3? Because that was not, the RG3 blame was not entirely on Robert. There was no adult in the room. Mike Shanahan was not the adult in the room. He was too busy trying to placate the owner, trying to placate Robert, trying to win football games. Somebody has to be the adult in the room. That person is Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury needs to be the adult in the room because 16 runs, we all agree that's too many runs. A lot of those were option plays where you watch them back. When you watch the film back, he made the right decision to keep. I'm sure when Cliff Kingsbury drew up the game plan, he didn't think there were going to be 16 option plays that he ended up keeping the ball on. He did. He needs to quit calling option plays because he needs to be the bigger guy and protect his own quarterback, even at the cost of short-term wins and losses.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The ones in the goal line, those are the most frustrating, especially when the game was out of reach. At that point, you're padding Jayden's stats. What does that mean if he's not healthy the following week, right? And so I get it. You know, Jayden's got so much confidence in himself, and I don't know that he's overconfident because at times I thought that was Robert's thing, right? He was overconfident in his ability to make a guy miss, and he couldn't get tackled until it was Haloti Nada. But Jayden Daniels' confidence was, I'm at the 2-yard line, I'm going to keep this and walk into the end zone, high step in, right? And he got popped, right? And it took 2 times for him to get in. And yes, he's healthy and he's fine, but it's an unnecessary hit, and that's what's bugging me today.
Here's problem number 2. A good run game solves this problem. Are they going to have a good run game this year? I don't know. I don't know that you can say right now, everybody give Eckler the ball more, give B-Rob the ball more. I don't know that it's that simple because when you give them the ball, you end up in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9. That's a disservice to Jayden Daniels, too. There are a lot of competitive things we need to balance. You had Cornelius Lucas playing the bulk of the snaps, I think 40-some snaps on the offensive line. I don't know that this offensive line is going to be good enough to establish the run regularly.
Yeah, and that's why you have to watch the game and watch the film because the box score breakdown will tell you, well, they ran for 133 yards. What more do you want in the National Football League? But if you take out Jayden's rushing, there was a lot of scramble plays in which they called a pass, but he chose to run. And I'm not saying that was bad, but outside of his 80 yards rushing himself, it was just 50 for B-Rob and Eckler. That's not good enough.
I'll say this, though. Positive for Jayden Daniels. He had Terry. There should have been 2 Terry touchdowns. There's one where he's wide open. He's screaming open, and they don't see it. Jayden doesn't see it, doesn't pull the trigger. There's one where he pulls the trigger, should have been completed, just wasn't there. I have confidence Jayden will make those throws long-term. I think there was some skittishness, some nerves, some week 1 going on. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury emptied the playbook by any stretch. I think that maybe a fake double toss, maybe not to McCaffrey. I think that was setting stuff up for the future. I think they're just putting something on tape to get everybody ready for what's coming down the stretch. I'm not pessimistic or down on Jayden's development after this game. I think he can learn to be... Now, with Robert, you knew right away, this kid's never going to learn to be a pocket passer in the NFL. I'm not convinced that Jayden can't learn. I think he can learn. I think it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I mean, again, I loved everything about his abilities that he showed with the running, with the throwing. He didn't do a lot of scrambling and still keeping his eyes downfield, and maybe that's something that will develop. It's just his availability is the most important thing. And after watching that game, I really lost so much confidence because of how many times he took a tumble, right? Or he dove, or just his helmet popped off going between defenders.
He can't slide.
He can't.
He can't slide.
He can't. And is it a big deal? You could have an argument on a radio show for 3 hours about that. What I watched on film on Sunday was a guy that ran himself into trouble and was driving reckless, was the quote that his dad said. And at times that's what he was doing against the Bucs. And so Jayden looked really good. For a rookie, he was the best rookie quarterback that played in the National Football League on Sunday. You can stamp that. That's a fact in my mind. But he also looked like a guy that could not play 17 weeks if he does that again and again. Lamar Jackson had 16 carries. Jayden Daniels shouldn't have 16 carries.
Lamar shouldn't have 16 carries either. I think Jayden puts it together. I think they adjust the game plan. I think by week 8, week 9, if he's still playing, I think he's a better passing quarterback, and we get the development that was so important to this season. Other problem, losing is demoralizing. Adam, I don't know if you know that or not. It makes people mad when the Commanders lose. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept or not. The way this secondary is playing, I think they're going to lose a lot of games this year. How does that impact Jayden's development when you've never been on a team that loses this many? I mean, certainly in college, he's never on a team that lost more than they won. How does that play into it if he's scoring 24, 25 points and they're losing 35-25 each week? That's a tough spot to be in.
I mean, go back to the game on Sunday, right? Bucs get 3 points. Jayden Daniels throws it backwards, so they get basically a 3 and out, and they get him with 3 more points. Then they get the touchdown. It's 13-0. That was a desperation drive for the team, and Jayden took off and ran. And they got 7 points on the board, but then that was probably the best drive of the game for the offense, but Jayden ran the most. And that's kind of what you're talking about. He was down 13-0. That's when he scrapped being a pocket passer and said, I'm going to take off. And if the defense puts him in those positions moving forward, he's going to put himself in harm's way because he's going to feel like, I got to play hero ball to get us back into it. Michael, here's my unfortunate truth, though, is I think 16 carries, that might be the norm this season.
No,
I just felt like Jayden is going to drop back and he's going to take off and run because he does not have confidence in the offensive line. I'm not sure he has confidence in the receivers to get open. Everything I saw on tape from Jayden was there was a little bit of pressure, I'm going to run. And 16 carries, and it could have been more.
This isn't a Jayden Daniels problem. This is a Cliff Kingsbury problem, and this is a solvable problem. You don't have to build those options into your plays. You can run different plays that may or may not be successful, and you have to sit the kid down and say, we'll never say this publicly, but the defense is not going to give us a chance to win games. You can't take this all on your shoulders. You have to be what we need you to be so that we can win next year after Adam Peters gets good corners in here, after Adam Peters overhauls this defense a second time, after we see who's good enough on the defensive line, because we can go down that line. There are questions after this week. They brought in a lot of guys, and they got some sorting out to do. We still haven't seen Johnny Newton yet. When that defense is ready, Jayden Daniels needs to be ready, and Jayden Daniels can't be that guy who's been playing hero ball and hasn't been developing. That's on Cliff Kingsbury. He has to be the adult in the room.
So you're okay with Jayden taking off and running on passing plays when somebody gets in the backfield, but it's the play like where Cliff had 5 guys to the right, Jayden snapped it, and it was a quarterback draw.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are we doing?
You can't call those plays because when it's time, Adam Peters will build this defense, right? Look at what happened in Pittsburgh. They have built the defense. They just needed solid, competent quarterback play, and that's why I think Russ is on the ropes up there. That's a different story, though, because they found a guy who can do that. 0 turnovers, couple big throws. Fields had a couple very nice throws, but on the whole, he managed the game. He didn't turn the ball over. He let the defense win. You want to build towards that, and Jayden's a little different. Obviously, Jayden will be able to play some more hero ball eventually, but you need to be on that developmental track.
I loved the exciting plays where he takes off and runs for 8, 10 yards. Those are chunk plays. Those are explosive plays that set up the offense. And I'm okay with him, taking a little bit of hits on those. It's the goal line stuff. That's when defenses get nasty. And like you said, it's the snap it and quarterback run, like quarterback draw. Just what are you doing with those kind of plays there where it's not even an option? It's Jayden against the world, basically, and some big guys on the opposing team are going to eventually break him, I feel like.
All right, we'll have you back later in the week. We got to talk about the secondary. Daniel Jones has not thrown a touchdown pass in 5 games. Daniel Jones, in his career, has not won 33% of his games. And yet, he puts on the cape every time he comes to Landover. We got a big game brewing here, I think.
I think it's going to be a shootout, Michael.
Ooh, boy. I hope it's not a shootout. I don't want to be around you on Monday if it's a shootout. AWOD Radio, everybody, noon to 3 every day on 910 The Fan. MP on the mic, of course, 10 to noon on 910 The Fan. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We're back with more after this. You're listening to 910 The Fan at 105.1 FM.